Today's going to be a little bit different for everyone, and welcome. Good morning. We have a little surprise from you from right here at Lead Trading Academy. We are bringing you live all the way from the other side of the world. Obviously, Mr. Alex Shiva, obviously, Mr. Farhan that just went somewhere. So I'm just going to put him up here empty. But we have a great treat for all of you. We have Eric Crown Crypto right here with us all the way from the other side of the world. Sir, how are you?
Man, it's good to be here. It's good to meet all of the new people of this community, and you as well, sir. It's a nice late night for myself, but I'm excited to be here, man. So let's see what we can do.
It's good to have you here, and thank you so much for being here with everyone. For those of you who don't know who Eric is, he used to be, well, he's a former equity options market maker who switched to crypto. So why do you love punishment on your own self like that? So
believe it or not, man, the returns and just the opportunity in crypto are so attractive. Like that's what kind of brought me over at first. Traditional markets, it can be amazing, yes, but it can also be very, very difficult. And of course, the returns, you know, you're talking about like 1% perhaps on a day versus, you know, Bitcoin, which can trade 5-10% in a day, which is just insane. Like the opportunity there is just, it's unmatched by anything else. And so that to me is just, it's hard to ignore.
And from your experience coming from just traditional markets into crypto, is it easier to just focus on one sector and forget about, because when you're dealing with regular markets, there's so many things to look at, right? So what are the pros and the negatives of just being in crypto, for example, for you so far?
Yeah, sure. For crypto, again, the returns are one of the biggest pros, but you know, just looking at Bitcoin, because it's like the main indice, right? You know, like in traditional markets, you have SPY, but you also have all of the sub indexes and everything else. You know, you have your NASDAQ, your Indus, you know, your NYs, etc. You know, triple Qs, whatever. There's a million of them that you can kind of pay attention to. But in crypto, you know, you just kind of pay attention to Bitcoin, and well, whatever Bitcoin's doing is pretty much what everything else is doing as well. And, you know, to varying degrees of strength and weakness. But Bitcoin, you know, I noticed plays very technically. And I think that's just because it's kind of like a Forex currency. We don't really have good valuation models for it. So what do people use? They use technicals. And, you know, that's my sort of study. That's my area of study. And so that just made a lot of sense to me. And again, I've no dishonor in admitting that I just kind of found it easier, even though things can get really, really crazy and you can get these absolutely astronomical moves. But with any sort of astronomical move, whether it be to the upside or the downside, that's just opportunity at the end of the day.
And you started as a trader, because everybody here, for the most part, is mostly a beginner when it comes to trading. There's a lot of advanced traders in here. And so this is why I want to go back into basics, to bring it down to earth for everyone, because obviously you're way far ahead down the road than myself. I'm not going to speak for these two gentlemen that are right here. But what I'd like to know is, if you're jumping into traditional markets, or if you're jumping into crypto, if you're jumping into trading, and from your experience, what would be a good place to start? Would you start traditional markets now? Would you start crypto now? Would you start focusing on one segment? What exactly would you do?
You know, I think you can really start wherever your interests are, because the biggest thing is going to be your ability to just pay attention, and things are going to get boring at some point. So, you know, you might as well focus on something and specialize in something that you're actually interested in, so that you have, you know, just that intrinsic motivation to continue to watch it, you know, throughout the thick and the thin of times. Because, you know, again, it's really going to be your sort of immersion through time that is going to actually make you good at, you know, at this skill, or really any skill for that matter. I mean, the way that you learn any skill is basically the same process, and trading is no different. So if you can just immerse yourself in something, and you spend like a year or two just fucking staring at the damn screen, like you're going to learn a few things, and so you want to make that process as simple as possible. So I would suggest just finding something that you're interested in, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be, I don't know, fucking gold, or like a rock, or whatever, you know, stocks, if that interests you, currencies. You know, some people get really interested in forex as well. You know, you can do all these sort of things, just something that you can be consistent with.
And how do you go? So, because you have all these different tools that you've created. So just tell me a little bit of being a market maker. Dude, how's that like? That's one of my dreams, to just be able to fuck everyone on every single trade.
Yeah, so market makers are kind of like looked at as like the devils basically in markets. They basically get blamed for everything. And it was very interesting for me to kind of come in from that venue and see that side of things, which I could definitely offer up some nuance on that. When I was a market maker, I was a market maker in equity options in kind of like the early 2010s. And so things have changed a little bit now, but basically you're playing a game of arbitrage in essence, meaning that you're just looking for the price on one exchange to be slightly different than the price on another exchange, and you can profit off of that difference by basically buying on the bid and selling on the offer. That's kind of your advantage there. Now, as an equity options market maker, we're kind of playing the reversal conversion markets. I don't know how like super deep you want to get into this, but there's
you get as deep as you want.
Sure. There's basically strategies that you can do to figure out the cost or like the real cost, the theoretical cost of an option, and then you kind of make markets around that so that you can basically lock in the value by buying a call, selling a put, and selling stock against that. And that's called that's just one of the ways to kind of pull in an arbitrage. You don't need to know this stuff in order to do it. There's many different ways to arbitrage, of course, but that's basically what market makers are doing. Market makers are actually not interested in direction. In cryptocurrency, it might be slightly different. I was not a market maker in cryptocurrency, so I can't really speak to that because they don't really have an options market anyways. So I don't really, it's got to be a whole different model. But in general, market makers are not interested in direction. So when people are like, the evil market makers are doing this and doing that, it's like if they're a real market maker, they actually don't give a fuck about direction. What you're probably misplacing your anger towards is like some sort of major quant firm that is, not manipulating markets, but basically creating price action that is very not nice for the average consumer who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Oh yeah. So your job is basically just to screw everybody up. Like basically, just a little bit, just go against it. And this is why to me it's one of those fantasies, because whenever I look at price myself, I go into this kind of a thought. What would be the worst thing that I could do to those fucking people if they were like bullish right now into here, if they were bearish right now? What would be the worst case scenario? And normally that really works well because no one is expecting what is going to be the worst case scenario. Everyone's just always hoping for the best and that they're right and that their technical analysis is just going to take her wherever. So now, all these years doing this, this is something specifically for those that are starting. When do you realize, you know what, I'm good at trading? And what makes you realize that?
Well, your equity curve goes up. It's the very simple
no,
answer.
of course. But beyond the I'm making money, there, because I met a lot of people that can make money just on luck, and then eventually they just fade out, like it fizzles out. So normally when I meet someone that's really good, like these two guys, they have a certain obviously they have a certain strategy and that they follow, etc., after learning a solid base. But there are traits that they have, like they don't panic when shit's going against them. They are very level-minded. They're very like this. What exactly are the things that make you strong? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay, so it basically comes down to your ability to create and manage a strategy. And whenever you create and manage a strategy, that means that you've gone through a whole process of, well, one, figuring out, what the strategy is. And you do that by back testing. So you've, hyper focus on a piece of price action that you essentially want to model, use whatever indicators that you want to, use for that regard. And then you just go through historical examples and compare when this same sort of position of these indicators has been present, was the desired result for this price action that I'm trying to specialize in. Did that happen to like a profitable degree and also consistently enough to make money over time? So when you do this sort of work and you actually can work out a real strategy, you can see your results and you can kind of you can work out essentially what your results should be somewhat expected to be. And within the within the data of these results, you can very quickly see like, okay, on average, this trade, if it's going to work out for me, is going to return, maybe, I don't know, 2%. And if it loses for me, it's going to lose an average of 1%. And I'm going to win 50% of the time and I'm going to lose 50% of the time. So you're going to stop being so fucking emotional because you realize that when you lose a trade, it's not like the end of your account, obviously. You kind of expect to lose some trades. Obviously, you don't have a 100% strike rate. I mean, no one does, as part of my knowledge, at this point in the year of 2024. So these sort of things become a lot more mediated emotionally because you actually have those statistics in front of you. And so you can kind of like back check it with your own logic, saying like, okay, should I actually be feeling bad if this is happening right here? Well, no, it's expected, given my own data. Okay, all good. We can continue. No problems there. Obviously, problems do come when you get something that's outside of the far outside of the data set. That's when you got a real problem, and that's not like a a signal to start crying or anything like that. It's a signal to go back to the drawing board and figure out a new strategy. Figure out what's going wrong with that. That's really where the skill is.
And to speak about the back testing, I used to go back and by hand and do it, and I would sit there for hours and hours and hours. Nowadays, it's literally such a cheat code to just plug it into the Quant automation, and it gives you all of the
So I think that should be next, because you've created a bunch of tools already that are incredible. Because I see Farhan playing with all of them. I'm still listen, I'm still learning this. I feel like I'm at a good place, but not enough to get there yet. But very soon, I'm going to start learning straight up from you. Even though I've been watching your videos now for a while, I think
awesome.
Your analysis it's definitely one of the best that I follow. If not the best. No. First, and I really mean it. And you make your videos also so chill and so easy to digest. You're not going into this and that, but you've built a lot of really cool and interesting tools. And the quantum backtester was the one thing Farhan was showing me the other day. That's insane. Can you show us and tell us a little bit about what made you get into creating these tools, how you got there, and is it easy or not? It seems quite fucking complicated.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably best to just show you. In fact, I'll show you a strategy that I was working on today, which I think is actually kind of cool. And I mean, if people are watching this, they can literally just fucking copy this shit. It's not, I don't think I think I can still make it better, but it's probably good enough as it is, at least as a working thing. So let me just bring it up right here. I think I'm sharing my window. Hopefully I'm not revealing terrible search history from Google. But,
you're good.
Okay, nice one. Yeah, so this tool, and first I want to say that I cannot take credit for creating this. While maybe I might have some plays in the idea generation for this, I work with a developer who's highly competent with programming and whatnot to deal with all of this shit, because that's way over my head. He specializes in that. I specialize in trading. Yeah. Anyways, so this tool, which we call the Quant automation, basically gives you kind of a blank sheet that you can input essentially any indicator that you have access to on TradingView, and then you can backtest a strategy. So this is a pretty simple strategy right here. I'm basically I basically am just going to be longing whenever price closes above this red moving average right here. And then I will close either when price closes below that red moving average, or when this indicator, the VMP, closes above about, I think it's 92 or 93 on this one. And, when we go into the strategy tester, you can see that the results over the past, I think this is going back to, it's probably going back to 2020 here. I can do a full back test for the full history as well, although I don't think it's as useful. Yeah, this goes back to 2020 basically. So you got 4 years of modern Bitcoin history, the percent profitable. So basically your hit rate is 40%, right? So again, going back to our
per trade,
going back to our prior conversation, you can have a win rate that is less than 50%, but if your returns for your average winning trade are much higher than your average losing trade, that's going to be profitable over time. And you can see also when you get an equity curve like this, you can start to really let go of this sort of fucking emotional tsunami that I think a lot of people go through. And of course, I went through this as well, where you see, okay, there are periods where you're losing money, and that can go on for months. Look at this period that I'm highlighting right here. From here to the next low in this equity curve, that's probably 2 to 3 months, I would imagine. So just imagine you're consistently losing for 3 months. But if you visualize this throughout, the course of 4 years, it takes on a completely different meaning. So these things I think are super powerful to understand. You also get the performance summary right here. It tells you what the average winning trade is. In this case, it's 212. The average losing trade is 103. So again, these sort of setups, if you're just consistent with them over time, and this is a very fucking simple one right here, super, super simple in my opinion. which many strategies, many winning strategies are very, very simple. Works. I even have the performance by month as well here. You can see that there's months where it loses. I mean, it loses like 2-3% cumulative during those months, but most people are going to go fucking crazy if you lose money, even for like a week, right? So I think it's a very sombering sort of realization when you start to visualize things from this venue, and think of yourself more as like a trade strategist rather than like someone who's trying to say, looks bullish, I'm gonna long. And it's like, that's not a strategy. That's just a feeling, which our feelings are notoriously not, well acclimated to trading. That's why, it's very easy to fail.
And you can connect this to like your exchange, right? And you can
Sure,
just
yeah,
basically
you can
leave
automate
it.
it. Yeah, you can automate it. In fact, the automation service itself now allows for I think like free use as well. So they basically just made it easier. It's really, really nice, actually.
That's very
cool. For example, we have just so that I understand 100% and everyone that's watching, because I feel like a lot of us will enjoy just having something that follows our strategies without having to be on it all fucking day and being nervous about it and anxious about it, which I think this is where it's really gonna help us, and especially people like me. And that's going to be, for example, we have every time you get a silver cross and price retests the EMA 9, that's when we buy, right? On the way up or on the way down. Can we just automate that simple thing in there and just use that as our strategy with this? Is that simple?
I mean, you could do that. I don't know if that's going to be a super profitable strategy.
No, of course.
We could test it out right now, really. But yeah, that would be the idea. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah. And I think, one thing that really differed like from you and all content creators in crypto is that you have like a platform that kind of visually puts it into like a system that gives you the back tested data. I really wonder, like, do you think you look at things like more, because we also look at it like statistics because it's data and numbers. I feel like not a lot of people do that. And like, you're still like one of the like outliers in that field of like numbers, statistics, back testing, and actually showing it like through like a system where you can have like the history of Bitcoin. Do you think that was like contributed through like the stocks and like maybe your mentor and things of that nature, being like a stock operator and market maker?
It's hard to say. I mean, obviously statistics play a role in everything. But there was like, I think, a really formative time in like my youth where I read something. I don't know who it was by or who said it, because I'd really like to attribute this quote to them, but they just said, the smartest people think in terms of probabilities. And I just always remembered that. And I tried to put everything in that lens, even though I don't really consider myself like super smart or nothing like that. But yeah, statistics they make sense to me. They make sense. And so I try to apply them like wherever I can, basically. So whether it's in traditional markets, whether it's now, I mean, it's kind of all the same to me. My mentor obviously thought in terms of statistics. My father was a trader and he would always talk in terms of statistics as well. So I think, a lot of those early years, I have to give credit to for that sort of thought process. I was just kind of immersed in it, kind of by luck, honestly.
Yeah, when I watch your channel, that was the first thing that I started paying attention to, because you open with, all right, today's Monday, so there's a higher probability that this is going to happen on the market, but it's also September where we know that and then you start going one by one, hitting it, and that's mind-boggling. Do you ever use actual trend lines or anything like that, or just momentum indicators?
Trend lines can be like good for as engagement tools, in my opinion. Like when you're on Twitter or like a YouTube channel or something. I think it appeals to people who might not be as knowledgeable, just because it looks cool and it looks right. And when you draw a trend line, it's inherently in hindsight, so it's going to be right. And then no one really follows up when like it doesn't work out or nothing like that. And I think that it can be okay as like an analysis tool, but I think trading off of a trend line is actually very difficult. I'll give you some like working examples. Let me just pull some up right here. Let me just pull up like a fresh chart, because when you get into trend lines, you always have the question of, okay, am I even drawing this fucking thing right? Okay, so I'm going to draw a trend line right here. It's going to be a diagonal. And it's like, okay, do I draw it to this high? And that's the right one? No. Is it this high? Is that the right one? Is it exactly? It's subjective. And so the problem with subjectivity in trading, especially, at least in my experience, is that when you run into the inevitable situation where like price is going against you, or you're highly emotional or whatever, and you have a subjective form of edge, in this case a trend line, you're gonna freeze, or at least I freeze. Maybe some people can make it work, sure. I guess I've seen it, it's certainly possible, but I think it's creating a question mark during a time where we need a decisive answer. And for me, it's just, I would rather be going off of a number, even though that's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect at all, but at least I can trust in a number. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
That's why me and Alex refer to them as meme lines.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it is kind of good to know how to do it and kind of know where they're coming in around, because they do kind of like sort of work. It's difficult to create a real plan around. That's kind of my point. But yeah, meme lines are good. LARP lines is what I call them. They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah. It certainly does make you feel like a total pro when you're doing it for the first time and you're putting your chart together. And just like you're saying, that beautiful engagement, you post your chart on Twitter, you're all proud of it. People like come and bag on it or not. And then you never follow up. It's absolutely true. But just
100%.
Basing all of your analysis on statistics, momentum, and every single data point that you bring is just something that, and I got to say this, most people that are entering trading and are years deep into it have no idea that it's the way to go. And to me, the more I learn it, because Farhan, every single day that we do this, he's fucking teaching us. The more I learn it, he is. The more I learn it, the more I see like, no, this is the right way of doing this, because you understand where price is ranging. You understand like limits. You just understand so much more about the price in this sense. So what's a good place to start? Because by the way, everyone that's watching, we're putting a link in the description here so you can get all of Eric's tools and you can learn from him directly. Because that's what we want. We want you guys to be ready. We want you guys to be prepared. We want you guys to kill it. But what's a good place to start within your system so that people can start learning how you trade?
Sure. Yeah. When it comes to my system, I would suggest checking out my free content first. I have free playlists that will go over the basics, because realistically, I can't in good faith suggest to someone who's especially new to get into any one of my paid products or any services like that, because you don't even fucking know if you want to do this shit. So you probably shouldn't be spending money on it. Yeah, it can be hard. It can be maybe you're just not even interested in this at all, and you just kind of want to test the waters. That's completely fine. That's why I have my free content. That's why I do my daily videos. I also just enjoy it. Like, I need something to fucking do because I'm bored. I got this goddamn bot over here trading for me. Like, I need something to do on a daily basis. I'm just picking up, other things to do, like boxing recently, just to fucking occupy my time.
I saw that was awesome, by the way. So you won that fight. Well done,
sir. I'm training for another one too now, man. I just really want to get back in there. Also, man, I would suggest, like, look, I've been watching some of your content as well. Follow fucking Farhan. He has a good head on his shoulders. Like, he knows what he's doing. Alex also, he's been around for a long time now. I've noticed that name for a long time. He knows, like, these guys do know things. So, if you pay attention, you'll pick up things, and from there, you'll start to kind of, you'll start to kind of figure out your own sort of trading personality, I guess. And from there, eventually you'll be able to make your own strategies. I mean, that's really the ultimate destination. You don't want to be reliant on someone like me or anyone for that matter. You want to be reliant on yourself. That's what it is to be a trader, is to be your own authority. And that, naturally comes with, well, doing everything yourself, basically.
Yeah, I always tell everyone that it's important to build a base, understand the basics of trading, because I feel like there's not enough people that are just learning basic stuff, like literally from what the fuck is a trend line, what you're looking at when it's trading view, what's a moving average. If you understand all of those basic things first, you can watch anyone and start actually absorbing new methods, new ways, and understand, all right, I have my basis. Now I'm going to pick my method. I've been watching Crown. I've been watching this guy. I've been watching Farhan. I've been watching these guys. And from all of those, the one that I relate to the most is this one. That's a good approach, right? For
100%, man. And honestly, what I could say to anyone who's just starting as well, focus on the extreme basic, because this really is like what I'm about to say is like it really is the most important thing. And no matter how good or sophisticated you get in your trading strategy, you will always need to incorporate something to represent this. Like even the most sophisticated mathematical models, you know, shit that like wins Nobel Peace Prizes and stuff like that, they all have some component related to trend. If you understand trend, which is, you can learn trend within probably a day, maybe at most 2 weeks, depending upon how lobotomized you might be. And from there, you will actually be able to figure out most things. Trend is real. Trend does happen, and you don't need to be perfect with it. But if you can identify a trend, you can jump onto things that typically do, move in that general direction. I mean, that is what it means to trend, especially in traditional markets. It's actually a lot more simple. That is actually one of the major things that I do like about traditional markets, that they fucking trend for forever. And so you kind of just buy something and you just wait. It kind of is like that if you are like a long-term investor. I'm talking about like, 10, 20 years down the road. But everything comes down to trend. Even if you're a pattern trader, all patterns are just trend. It's just either an uptrend or a downtrend, and the pattern is kind of telling you what that essentially is. Like your fucking backwards dragon pattern, whatever the fuck the name is, your triangles, all these things are trend. Like a symmetrical, not a symmetrical, but an ascending triangle, for example. What is that? It's just higher lows. What's higher lows? Well, it's leading up into a very likely uptrend. So that's where you can kind of get that sort of understanding from. So if you're just beginning and you just want to kind of, do the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, learn trend, it'll be your friend until the end of your trading days.
And before I let you go, because I know it's late over there in Dubai, which we appreciate you. The last question I have for you is, from all of your tools, do you want to plug in your tools right now and tell people just a basic line on what they are? Because I find everything that you have on your site incredible. I feel like a lot of people will benefit from it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously the big one here is the one that I just showed off earlier. This is the Crown Quant automation. This, again, I cannot suggest to someone who's super new. What I suggest to someone who's super new is just the free stuff on YouTube. If you want more of like a dedicated learning sort of program, I have the systematic trading and quantitative analysis program. That'll go more deep into like my sort of theory and philosophy of price action, why it moves and how it moves. And yes, trend is a major component of that. And then I have a bunch of indicators that I did not create it myself. I cannot take credit for them. I might have had the idea for them, but I worked with a couple of different developers, both the Caretaker and an Agent Smith, great names, by the way, who are just absolute geniuses when it comes to programming.
Caretaker's a legend.
Yeah, he's just amazing. So we have a lot of statistically based indicators like, your daily price statistics and the HPDR, which just gives you probabilities of price ranges, these sort of things I absolutely love. So yeah, you can check it out there. And like I said, if you're new to me or my content, just check out my channel first. I do my videos every day, and I'm happy to, you're happy to, to join in there as well, of course.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and by the way, the HPDR, my God, what an incredible tool. Yeah. Everybody that looks at it, because Farhan uses it a lot for his analysis, and everyone that just watches it can't believe what Farhan's doing with that, because it's not so straightforward. When you start and you look at that, it's quite confusing, because that was my first reaction to it. But once you start listening to anyone that understands it and you start looking at it, I think it's one of the most useful tools I've ever seen in my life. Indicators.
Listen to Farhan. I'm telling you, he knows his shit. I've known Farhan for quite some time now, man. He does know his shit. It's really, really good.
Yeah, he's learned quite a lot through the years. Years ago, 2017, I made an app it was called Fantasy Crypto, so that people could learn how to trade for free just without putting any money, before there were simulators or anything like that. Yeah, and this guy was like totally in it, and that's how he started. And now look at him. He's like a beast. Yeah, he's a beast. And that was like literally the dumbest tool in the world. But hey,
back then though, I had no idea what a strategy was, a trading plan was. I was just gambling.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's where we all start. We all start there.
Yeah. And then you build some structure. Now, before you go, final question. Are you a bottom and a top picker, or not really?
Am I a bottom or a top? Is this like some sort of trend shit?
Like that. Yes, it's a little sexual. And the reason why I asked this, it has to like play into this. The reason why I asked that is because a lot of people
the bottom in an hour here, so I'll go with top for now.
The reason why I ask this is because there's a lot of people that are jumping into trading and think that picking a bottom and picking a top is really easy. Do you play those or not?
I cannot tell you where the fucking bottom is or the top is. It's very, very difficult to do. And more importantly, you don't need to be able to pick the ultimate bottom or sell the ultimate top in order to make money. You can catch that, that more high probability move once you have real confirmations on, on a likely direction, which gives you maybe like 50 to 70% of that move. And if you want to, really be like a trend trader or a swing trader, that's completely fine. That would be like great legendary status already, at those numbers. So yeah, man, this is one of those fallacies. You don't need to be able to do that. You just need to be able to identify the trend and get the high probability move. That's what we're looking for.
Completely agreed. And that's a big lesson for everyone watching, because legitimately everyone is obsessed with thinking that they can pick a bottom and they can pick a top. This is the right way to do it. Build a strategy, start learning your basis, and especially go visit and check out Eric's content. All of the free content every single day. He uploads a brand new video with one of the best analysis I've ever seen in my damn life. And use his tools. Once you get into once you really get into this, and if you're already advanced enough, use his tools. I mean, I see it with Farhan. It's incredible. The level of detail that you can get in your analysis when you're using either the HPDR, the quantum backtester. And I'm going to start getting into the quantum backtester. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Man, I just want to say thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure meeting all of you guys. Like, actually, finally, obviously, I've met Farhan before, but both Alex and Alejandro, man, it's been a pleasure to be here. It's been a nice conversation. I've really enjoyed this, and wish you guys all the best. And hopefully, we speak soon, man.
Yeah,
thank you so much, and we'll go see you fight too. Have a good
one. Hell yeah.
We'll definitely do it.
Good luck, and thank you so much. And for everyone, all of the indicators and everything that you need to learn is right here in the description down below. All of Eric's stuff right here, first link, so that you have it straight and direct into your it's straight right in front of you. All right, guys, fuck me. Thank you so much for everything, and we'll see you later.
Cool.
Take care.